shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast, talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
Welcome to episode 45 of the Adventures in Tech podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Dan.
And we're excited you are listening. Once again, if you like the show your support by providing feedback and rating wherever you download your podcast from. We greatly appreciate your support. Dan, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yes, it's the day or two before spring break, and I think everybody's ready to recharge their batteries and get rejuvenated.
Absolutely.
So we will not be recording for about 2 weeks or so as we kind of regroup and recharge our own batteries. So I want to give the audience that information from the get-go, but we will be back. We will be back. We have a goal of a number of episodes to get through before this academic year ends, and we'll be back. And Dan was just talking about his pipcorn.
I love my pipcorn.
Everybody's like, what's pipcorn?
Right. It's tiny little popcorn.
Is it like a size of a kernel?
It's bigger than a kernel.
Okay. So it pops a little bit, but not as big as popcorn. That's why it's pipcorn?
You just have to experience the pipcorn.
All right. Where can we find pipcorn, Dan, besides where we talked about on Shark Tank? Any store?
Yeah, I've seen it around.
I don't see it in delis or anything.
No,
so.
I usually get it. We get like the Hungry Root deliveries, and they throw pipcorn in there.
So it's a mail delivery.
But I've seen it in stores. I just can't remember which.
Yeah, pipcorn. All right, sounds good. Moving on.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk. Dan, we talked about this briefly in a past episode, but remember Plickers?
I do remember Plickers.
And you tried Plickers again.
I did try Plickers again.
All right, let's talk. How did Plickers go? What did you do with Plickers?
I used it for formative assessment.
Okay.
I used it just to really just get a little engaging activity because Plickers has added some new things. I know we've talked about it, but they've added the ability to put videos into the questions and put audio in. So you can upload your own audio into the Plickers and put that out as a question. They also have a pretty robust library of audio tunes.
Yes, we were listening.
Yes, I happened to choose for my particular situation a song by Bob Marley. I was very happy to see that in their collection. But
that's great.
You know, there's sometimes when we just want that formative assessment and we don't really need to have we don't really want
tech.
The tech, not even if we have the tech, we don't need to have everyone go onto a Google form or go into quizzes.
Right.
Having those Plicker cards, having it put up quickly. I'll tell you what I was I'll just be honest. We've talked about it. I haven't really used it for a while.
What, Plickers?
Plickers.
Oh,
so
no,
I used it.
Agreed.
I used it the other night. What I was most impressed about is how much better the app has come at scanning.
Okay.
I just did pretty much one sweep of the room from the front.
Panoramic,
and I got everything, and tells me as soon as someone registers, I see it register on the board, and
so it was quick.
It was quick.
There was some latency before. So.
There was. They say, I just pulled up the website again. Formative assessment has never been faster. It's quick. It's quick, and it gives you all of those, all that data that you'd get out of a lot of the other platforms, right there in your dashboard. So. You can split up your question sets by having things graded or just surveys. Whatever you're looking to achieve with a formative assessment goal, I would not rule out Plickers.
Yeah, so the simple part is, Dan, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you import your class.
From Google Classroom.
Nice. So that made it easier compared to in the past, you always had to manually input them. So your class is automatically in there. Does it sync grades? So your Plickers grades from the app into Classroom?
I haven't got that far.
I haven't tried that so far.
But
okay.
What it will do is when you sync the class into Plickers, you can go to look at your roster and print roster, and it gives you what card number they should have.
1, 2,
so you don't
3.
even have to go assign cards. You just say this one's number 1, 2. So you just print off that free set.
That's the key.
Of Plicker cards. I would suggest doing it on cardstock paper.
Right.
If you have
But don't laminate it, right? Because there'll still probably be a reflection or a glare.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's needed.
It depends. But definitely just print off that free set and then give the students the appropriate number, and you're good to go. Remember, they just hold up what looks like a QR code.
Right.
And really, you can really only do like multiple choice questions because
Correct.
You'll hold it up in a certain direction if you want the answer to
A,
be
B, C,
A,
D.
B, C, or D.
Right. But you were showing whatever the questions were on
the board.
On the smart technology.
So on your display board, and then you actually manage the questions and moving through from the app on your phone.
Got it.
So you'll just choose the question, and then you'll be able to hit what looks like you're taking a picture, but it opens up the camera, and then you'll be able to scan.
Like fireworks still. Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take those conversations with your fans to the next level, there's Q&A and polls, the best way to get your fans talking about your podcast. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel like having all these options like video podcasts and the interaction with our fans has brought us to an entirely new creative level. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Is it still right where it says what the answers are? It's still on the screen when you're scanning. I haven't tried it recently.
It'll light up the person. So when you scan it, it'll read the QR code, tell you the person's name right there on the screen, and light up blue.
So that means they got it registered.
That it registered in.
If there's ever a problem, it's probably red still, right?
It doesn't.
So that's cool. Again, just another tool for your toolbox for efficiency without needing the technology in your classroom, and you need a quick formative assessment. Now, obviously, Dan, using the free version, it's all you really need, right?
That's all I needed.
Right? So I know they have the Plickers Pro for $8.99 a month, and you can kind of collaborate with the lesson content if it's something that's key. But, that also has, you can use YouTube and images from the internet and has different score sheets. So
and what's nice is you're importing your Google Classroom, but the kids don't need to sign into anything.
Right.
It's all very low tech.
They just need their card.
Right.
Just their card. So if it's something that you are interested in checking, it's plickers.com. Sign up. You can kind of test it out. If you want to try the premium for 14 days free, absolutely are able to do that as well. But it's something that was like a hot topic back before everybody was one-to-one devices and everything. It was the best way, I'd say, to get a quick formative assessment on how a lesson went, to see how students understood with the content that you presented. So plickers.com. All right. Moving right along, Dan, we got some Google information. So Google Voice, which a lot of people don't utilize Google Voice, and that's fine. You don't need to. But it is another format for communication where you're not giving out your personal number, and you are able to use Google Voice and the app, for calls, so you can keep, your number private. There's text messages, and now there's a lot of different things they've actually done where you can turn a do not disturb on. You can receive calls. You can receive ring group calls. A lot of things have just been released with Google Voice over the last month or so. Is there anything you want to also talk about with Google Voice, Dan?
I'm just one of those people. I have not used it, but I can see the value in using it, especially if you're making a lot of phone calls to families and,
text messaging, especially with Ed Law 2D, right? With the certain kids being able to sign up.
Sure. And just, sometimes you're not making all those calls from work. You're at home. And you just want to be able to do that, your Google Voice would definitely come in handy right there.
Right, and it connects to your cell phone, and trying to, call from a district or a private number, could be, something that, check it out if you're interested. It's nothing that is going to be life-shattering in how you change things, but it could be something cool. All right, Dan, we're kind of like fans of Apple, and we actually were able to experience a meeting with Apple and see how they have evolved their technology, right? There was seeing how some students and how some districts are utilizing Apple technology for note taking, right? With was it Good Notes, right? We were checking out that app and how you're taking your handwritten notes and it automatically will put them into text format. So that's another app. It's interesting to see how Apple is trying to re-engage themselves with the education market. And we're hearing what they're developing, and it was just confirmed that WWDC 2023 from 9to5mac.com is confirmed for June 5th to June 9th, and what they are coming out with. Now, the reason why I really put this in is we know that, many districts are Google or Microsoft, right? Not many are in the Apple LMS system. That's number one. But what I thought was interesting was they are now coming out with their own VR headset, and I'm interested to see what that's going to look like, and it'll be announced, I'm assuming, between June 5th to the 9th.
Yeah, it would be definitely interesting because it is that market where it could be a very valuable experience, and to see what they bring to the table. I mean, I think Apple has always been part of that education space.
Correct.
In terms of its ability to create with a lot of its native with GarageBand and iMovie, and then just the power that the iOS system brings. And they do have Apple Education. They do have sort of a Apple Classroom.
Yep.
I looked at it years ago, but again, we did not go down that journey. I mean, there was a lot of thinking about using a lot of Mac devices. It gets quite costly.
That's the challenge for districts.
That's the challenge. And I know one of the challenges that we faced in the past, especially looking at iPads, was for a while, it's a hard thing to manage because they're really like a personal device.
Correct.
And then trying to put it into a classroom. But, we had that meeting with Apple. They've really, it was really interesting to see how much they've just upgraded the interfaces of the iPads to have touchpads now with a keyboard, and it's a pretty powerful little device.
Right, and I can see the value if you're an Apple district, right? It would make sense, but you're not going to use an Apple device to use Google apps or Microsoft apps.
Right.
Like it's like one extra step, and you want to be efficient. So but it's going to be interesting to see these VR goggles, too.
Right. And, the one thing to consider is looking at what the tech infrastructure is in the districts where you work.
Right.
I mean, if you do have some of those Mac devices, those iOS devices available, you should really harness the power of those to enable your students to really create some things. I mean, the Google ecosphere is great, and there's a lot of things you can do in there and a lot of web-based, but sometimes you just really want to harness down, get to a device, and do some really, high-definition work.
Right.
And being able to access some things on iPads or Macs would really be great.
Right. Those creative tools really, especially at the secondary level, are where it's, those elective courses and some even the generic ones are really what's needed for those kind of design aspects in a classroom.
And it's a great way to engage the students too. So like when we work with a lot of different grade levels with podcasting or I'd say a lot of the movie production now is moving over to Canva, there's still a place for editing.
For iMovie,
For iMovie and editing, and then especially using GarageBand when we're doing the podcasting, so the students can get into that part and go to that whole other level
of creativity. Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see what they're going in, and they keep evolving. But I'm interested to see what is announced with the VR goggles, how it's connecting. Like, we know that we have been a big proponent of utilizing Class VR because everything's built within. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing, if it's more of an Oculus set or if it's, something similar to, what their market share is going to be, how they enter that market. So, all right, so let's talk. We've talked a lot about AI. It's a big topic, has been since December.
I think so, and
right?
It's still
huge.
A lot of the feedback we get that our listeners are still very interested in what's happening with AI.
Right. So this article came from Wired.com, and the big thing is, so we have ChatGPT, which a lot of people are still accessing the free account, but I believe it's only version 3.5, right, is what the language is that we're able to get and use. Now, ChatGPT 4 has come out, and if you there was all the news, it did better, 90th percentile on the bar exam. It's been doing a lot better, and it hasn't fully been released. It's still in beta to everybody. It's only been released to those it's behind the paywall for those people. So you have the ChatGPT version, and there's all kinds of apps now that are starting to use this technology.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bing Chat, which we've talked about, which is Microsoft's version, and now it's called Bard, right?
Yeah, Google Bard.
So Google is now getting in on it as well.
Yeah, if people that were following the news a couple weeks ago, they launched it and had a little bit of a mistake with it.
Right.
It's just going in leaps and bounds, and that's the one thing that I think that we have to be aware of. We keep talking about it. We talk about ChatGPT. We know what it is, but the amount of growth that the AI that's happening with AI, it's crazy. It's like a whole new disruptor, and you look at how quickly these ed tech companies are bringing in this AI into the apps. It's crazy, and I know like our good friend Matt Miller just released a book.
Yep.
About it. It should be arriving for me today.
Soon, yeah.
I'm excited for that. But it's something I think just get across to our listeners is you just can't put your head in the sand and try and ignore it, because I think that the rate at which it's moving and the impact it's going to have, even beyond just the education sphere, just the economy, everything, that the job market is going to be tremendous. So we really need to keep aware of how those things are moving forward.
Yeah, and Matt's book is available paperback and Kindle on Amazon. If you are interested in it, I know it was released about a week ago, I believe. Actually, 2 weeks ago, about March 16th, it was released. It's available. AI for Educators, Learning Strategies, Teacher Efficiencies, and a Vision for an Artificial Intelligence Future is Matt Miller's book. So it's definitely great. He also talked about it recently with Dave Burgess, who's a past guest of our show, as well on Dave's podcast, which he had mentioned, I believe, in episode 43. But, the discussion around AI, I know a lot of our episodes are around that, because that is what it's just all over the place right now. And how to, attack it. You have people, proponents for it. What's scary about it? How can we use it? What's efficient? And when we think about, AI and all these conversations, so the OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, it is free. It does have the $20 a month version, right? And we know ChatGPT and Google Bard can run on almost any browser. Microsoft, vintage Microsoft move, limits Bing Chat to Edge. So if you're not using Edge, you're not going to use Bing Chat. But it is now on the Bing mobile app for iOS and Android. So they're trying to figure all these things out.
I remember listening to a podcast when Bing was first launching it and having some trials with some people, and it was very interesting that now that's just incorporated into the browser. Now you had to choose to use it, but it's not going to be long before I think our whole idea of Googling or searching something is going to change with AI.
Right. I don't think you're going to say Google it anymore, right? You're going to be like chatbot it or something.
I don't know.
I don't know what the lingo will be, but and they do keep saying that it's not 100% correct. They can only go back to 2021. Some of their information, there could be biased reports. So, just I guess the biggest thing to the outlying summary of this is we know there's going to be chatbots. We know the interfaces, the user interfaces are going to continually evolve as we move forward, in education. I don't know if you're going to need the plus for that subscription ever for ChatGPT, and if the other ones go behind a paywall or not. But that's a machine. We're humans, right? And, we're going to inevitably always figure out the kinks and change and evolve with it as we move forward.
And speaking about changing and evolving, the one thing we talked about it with Matt, I think we talked about it with John, a lot of the guests. Feels weird not having a guest this week.
It's just us. People are bored.
They are. But it's like, freeing up time for teachers. And I'm not talking time where they can go just hang out and whatever, but time in the classroom to actively engage with your students. So that AI, I think, is really going to take a lot of the heavy lifting off of the backs of teachers. And I think that's something to be really positive about. Of course, there's some negatives that go with AI. I think back to some other conversations we have about how that could be used in a pretty frightening way. But just thinking about utilizing it for teachers. So I know there's some articles out there, ways ChatGPT or AI can really help teachers out. A few things out there. We talk about it, but just to reiterate for our audience, generating lesson plans.
Yep.
Looking at Curapod, CURPOD.com. It's kind of this AI specific for teachers that that allows teachers to harness the power of AI to generate interactive and engaging lessons. It's interactive, not sure how engaging. I've used it a bit, but you can type in a topic, it'll generate an interactive slide deck. All the interactive activities now that have come are pretty much the same thing.
Right.
But what's cool is it'll give you just a baseline to work off of.
That's the key.
That's the key.
Right? It's never going to replace the human interaction component of teaching and educating with students and that human connection that we make with our students, right? So, but this, like we keep saying, efficiency. If it can help you, get that skeleton of the lesson plan, and then you tweak it for what you want, or I need some ideas for feedback on student work. You can input that. Quizzes and tests like Conquer, right? We've talked about that, how it can kind of help give you, the questions and criteria and create that customized quiz or test that meets that criteria, and then you tweak it. It's not going, you're not going to just copy and paste it, but it's going to kind of, dare I say, help you without having to pay a certain website.
That's true. At least not yet. But I'll say another one of those lesson generators is the new Magic Design in Canva,
which we're big fans of.
Which I'm a big fan of now. So I love Google Slides, and I think I'll always have a place for that. But I'm switching a lot of my design into Canva because of a lot of the Magic Design, the image generators, the graphics, and then I'm just taking it and putting it into Google Slides when I'm done. But that Canva creation for a teacher really does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. I mean, I could
design writer's block.
Yeah, I could design it in Slides, but having the AI put out a skeleton for me with the graphics in there
saves you time.
It saves me time. It gives me ideas. It's inspiring. And then just the idea of being able to look at things and provide different feedback on student work, like submitting student, looking for those things, changing reading levels of different things that you have and having
differentiating
it, translating it. Conquer is amazing for generating that formative assessment, those reading comprehension, those quizzes and tests, because you can, again, it'll give you something to work with.
Right. So I think, that article, and we'll post it in the show notes, was actually from a doctor of education technology at Loyola University in Maryland. So she had some great ideas. So thanks to Dr. Kelly Keene. She's the program director of educational technology and an assistant teaching professor at Loyola in Maryland. So we will post the link. You can read her article, get some more ideas of what else 5 ways ChatGPT can make your job as a teacher easier. And that's what she's talking about, efficiency, trying to help with that. And I think we kind of sum that up. So you got something else, Dan?
No, I just talking about efficiency moving forward in AI. I know, saw this coming out. I see you have it on our discussion points for this week's
Which
episode.
one are you going at?
I'm going at practice sets in Google Classroom.
Yes. Right. So here's the things. And we know there's something else that we're going to be utilizing or testing in beta for, specifically in our district. Google is trying to keep up and input and use all of these things in Google Classroom, where it's trying to make your life easier, efficient, effective, all in one place. So practice sets in Google Classroom. We had a couple teachers, was it last year, like springtime, right? This is what I think we were using in AP Environmental Science and some math classes.
I think it was a little bit longer ago than last year. Yeah,
wow.
I remember
2
when
years ago,
we were first in that pilot for it. And what we were doing then, I can see how it was definitely leading to what this has come out with, practice sets in Google. So, what you'll have is it's a new formative assessment tool in Google Classroom designed to use AI-generated hints to help students self-assess and self-correct their work. So it's really building on that AI to generate ways for students to really think about their thinking, right?
Yep.
And address that there. So when you go and create a new assignment, you'll be, when it's launched and it's out there, you'll see an option for practice sets.
Right, where it says attach on the bottom.
Right. So you can create your questions in multiple choice or short answer format. Select the correct answer just like you would in a Google form. You got a math equation keyboard for math symbols. So
that's cool. And here's
cool.
the thing. It's going to import questions from a PDF.
Right. That's
the key.
Remember when we were uploading all those PDFs? I think it was like 2 years ago.
It must have been.
Yeah.
We're getting old.
We're getting old.
But PDFs, it kind of then you don't need, dare I say, you may not need another annotate tool, so to speak, for your students, where then it's like, oh, did they attach the work? Did they not to my classroom? So if it's going to import those questions for you from your PDFs, where there's not a heavy lift of annotating and drawing, right, overall, it's going to provide all those into a practice set in Google Classroom, and you have the mathematic equation keyboard, and then it uses the AI to give video hints for students if they are struggling with the questions, incorrectly. So it is amazing for formative assessment to give that immediate feedback on correct and incorrect answers.
And there's a show your work tool to complete equations and draw examples for students.
It's like what we've asked for, Jamboard built in.
Right. Well, there's a lot I'd like to see with Jamboard improve, but this is
agreed.
This is really building into Google Classroom themselves. So it's really taking that experience and providing that support for students as they're going through different practice sets. So I'm really hoping that this really gets a good foothold with our math and science teachers and start finding value in what is there.
I think it's a great way for us to kind of utilize it for specifically in those content areas where they have all those tools built in. If you don't see it, check with your admin for your district to see, because it is part of, and depending on what license they're on, Teaching and Learning or Education Plus upgrade in Google Workspace for Education. So it's called Practice Sets in Google Classroom, and I'm pretty sure it's out now. Right, I believe it should already be released, but it could be a scheduled release overall. So just check with your admin to see that it is turned on. So, all right, Dan, last thing I want to talk about, Eric Kurtz, Control-Alt-Achieve.
Love the blog.
Right, so we're going to post this link, 15 updates to make Google better. And he's got a great, I don't even want to say great, a phenomenal infographic.
Is it fantastic?
It's fantastic. Thank you very much for all those fans who love that word. Make learning more personal to unlock student potential with Google for Education.
You see this week, Google is in London?
Well, I know someone who's going to London.
I know. Maybe I should go. Can I crash?
Yeah, crash it.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be working over there. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to go to Google. You're going to go to Wakelet. You're going to be hanging out with everybody over there. Have some tea at tea time. But what I thought was interesting is, the number one that he said with Google Classroom updates, right? YouTube interactive questions. Is it taking over Edpuzzle?
I don't know. Could be similar. I mean, we see that interactivity in videos, whether it's in Edpuzzle, Screencastify has it now. It looks like Google's putting it into their YouTube.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And seeing, I think that kind of just works into the workflow of a teacher. And, I like those interactive questions off of videos, especially as teachers think about building asynchronous learning materials or support materials for students. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of teachers doing this in classroom time. I think the classroom time should be spent developing higher level thinking and not kind of everyone watching a video on their own.
For 45 minutes.
For 45 minutes or whatever it is. I don't know how this is going to come out in YouTube Interactive. If the one thing is, if you want to engage students in a video and have that formative assessment, I think Edpuzzle is still the way to go with that because you can launch Edpuzzle Live. That way you're just launching the movie for the class on your interactive board and students are interacting with it on their devices.
Right.
So,
and this is not out yet. It's still in beta, right? It will be coming soon. We did request to join the beta program to kind of test it out to see, but that is something that's going to be interesting is how they're embedding that within Google Classroom. So that's update number one. Update number two that Eric talks about. We just talked about.
I do see that the kind of screenshot they have for that, and it looks like you're not exactly in the YouTube.
No.
So that
filtering.
So yeah, it looks like it's looking very similar to Edpuzzle in that regard.
The nice thing is there'll be no ads. There should not be any ads probably within this.
No, probably not. I'd hope not. Now I'm wondering then if, since you're launching it through Google Classroom, that's a lot of the syncing that you have to do back and forth with Edpuzzle and the grading, which I know some users express they're not the happiest with the Edpuzzle grading and syncing.
Frustrating.
So, hey, as...
Again, we'll see how that evolves, and if that makes things more efficient because the grading automatically syncs, it may be a tool that someone who uses it for that purpose... maybe they got it right now. Maybe Edpuzzle has worked out the kinks with the grading. But if not, this could be something that could be beneficial for educators all around. We talked about practice sets. Dan?
Right. Even I saw this. They listen to me. They listen to us.
But they really do. You have the bat phone. They called, and Dan's like, listen, this would be a fantastic upgrade.
I think for the past 5 years, how you always have that thing in Google Classroom, like send us feedback. I think like once a week and then to once a month, and I would send the feedback where I need you to fix the grade book so you can have quarters, semesters, term, whatever it is.
Trimesters, exactly. And it's coming soon. So for the fall, let's say, right?
Thank goodness, because we've got all the hacks on how to set it up and...
trying to explain the hacks.
For those that maybe are not familiar, the Google Classroom Gradebook is fantastic because I'm not, utilizing it. You don't have to jump to 3 different platforms to record your grade. You build your digital space. You assign your work through Google Classroom, which goes out to everyone. They get notifications. Doesn't even have to be digital work that you can launch through, and then you can do your grading in Google Classroom, and everything's all nice in one little pretty package.
And you sync it.
Except if you needed to export it into another grading system that you may be using. But the one negative about the Google Classroom Gradebook is it just kept a running average.
One grade book.
One grade book for your entire year. So there was no first quarter grade, second quarter grade,
semester,
third quarter, whatever it was. So you'd have to do like sneaky little things in your grade categories.
Which we're not going to explain because you're no longer going to need it come September.
Let's hope not. But this is a long, long, long time coming. They say coming soon. It can't come soon enough.
Right. So it's called Grading Periods in Classroom, and it'll be you'll have the option to create quarter, semesters, or terms like Dan had mentioned. Assignments and grades will be able to be organized and viewed by these grading periods. So you name the grade period, you put your start date, your end date, and I'm just looking at their sample. By mid-August, I believe this will be rolled out. So you'll have, and you can add 4 grading periods, 3. It's very simple. You can apply it to existing assignments, right? So if you were like, oops, I forgot to set it up at the end of 5 weeks or quarter 1, you put the dates in, done, right? And copy it to all your classes.
I love it.
Efficiency.
I want to say thank you, Google. And then on the other hand, I say, why did it take so long?
Exactly. But you know what? They listened to you, Dan. They were like, this Dan Roberto needs to stop emailing me right now. So Google Docs has got some updates, custom
3 updates.
Building blocks in Docs, right? So a lot going on with that. Again, I think most of these are going to be for academic year starting in August for the the schools in the South and the West. But you have custom building blocks in Google Docs.
Right. So you can. We're all used to the idea of making a template for something and sharing that, like make a copy for each student in Google Classroom. But now you'll be able to create and reuse your own custom building blocks. So you can basically create templates that can be inserted into a doc whenever you need them. So this could be if you have a lesson plan template, a lab activity, a study guide, any sort of different table that you use over and over again. You can make those your building blocks. So when you go in and create something new, you can then just bring those in. I think that's an awesome feature.
Dan, rejoice for the next one with your do nows, right? Because typically you get that extra timer or stopwatch that you're adding as an extension or just on Google itself. Now, timer and stopwatch chips, we love chips, are in Docs, right?
Love
It's
it.
currently rolling out now, so you'll be able to add those interactive timers and stopwatches to any document.
That's really cool.
Isn't that great? The timer chip will count down from a set time that you give, or the stopwatch chip will count up from 0, and that can obviously be used to measure how long assignments take or signify the end of a due now.
I love. I'm just like looking. So I love. We talked about those collaborative Google Docs that you can build and have students engage in that collaborative space, which I love. But now you can be like, instructions, create, take the next 10 minutes to create a group presentation about your favorite animal. Presentation should be like 5 minutes long. I'm just reading their example. And you can put that timer right in there, right into the document, and it counts down right there in the doc. That's amazing.
The easiest way to use it too is you just hit, you would type at timer or at stopwatch.
Smart chips.
At whichever. These smart chips, you'll see them. They kind of become like gray bubbles or whatnot in your docs. So it's really great. And then the other one that's coming in docs is exciting too.
Yeah, voting.
Voting chips tool. And you just type at voting. So it's becoming very simple. The voting chips, then users can then click on the chips to cast their votes, see the running totals, surveys, quick formative questions, and more for voting. That's coming soon as well, and it says vote for which book you want to read first is their example. You can vote with an emoji, Dan.
And the thing about this is we're talking about all these things going into docs. Like, docs should not be forgotten as building a digital space for your hyperdocs, your collaborative spaces. It's a great tool. We've talked about it for a long time with the smart chips and everything that's going into docs. It's really becoming such a robust design tool that you should really look over some of these links, look at what it has to offer, because I think you might have those aha moments going, oh my gosh, this is going to help with my designing of learning experience so much. I love that voting put right into a table with a smart chip and a doc. You don't have to click on another link to go to a form. Everything's going to be right there in real time. As you're going through. So I'm like, this is going to revolutionize some of the ways I build hyperdocs. I might start going back into docs instead of building
pageless docs.
Pageless docs instead of just building my hyperdocs and slides.
Yeah, it's exciting.
There's definitely, being aware of what's there. I can definitely see for different types of activities that one would definitely work well. And I'm seeing a lot more uses for docs now.
Yeah. All right, Dan, you got to love slides, right? We talk about it.
Well, we do. Even though I gave it a little less love
You pushed it to the side for Canva. However, they're trying to catch up. Google Meet and Slides update 5, Dan, 5. And this is key. See speaker notes in Meet. Right, so
that makes sense.
Show the speaker notes. If they're typing, you can then be reading them as you go along through your presentation. No one else in the Meet will see the speaker notes. It's for the presenter to follow along with your notes more easily, and that is currently available. Right. Another one we've talked about, Dan, is co-presenting.
Yeah. So
co-presenting slides in Meet. We know if you're giving that spoken presentation, you don't want to have to worry about controlling and advancing the slideshow. Now you have that co-presenter who will be able to advance the slides, play videos, and more to make it easier for whoever is presenting. Gosh, we needed that a while ago, Dan.
We did. I still can't wait to try it out.
The AI-powered hand-raising in Meet, right?
Right.
AI's coming.
Yeah, so when you raise your physical hand, the AI in Meet will see that and automatically raise your hand raise icon.
What's going to happen when I say goodbye?
I don't know. I'm just going to mess with people. Hey!
Hey, put your hand up, put your hand down, put your hand up.
I'm going to use it the next time I'm in a meet with some of our colleagues.
We should just create a meet just to have this reason. And really
Absolutely.
Dan, you have a question? No, I don't.
No.
Yeah. That's kind of funny, though. Closed captions and Meet recordings. So this is great.
It is.
For the closed captioning, for that, because it automatically includes your captions in your Meet recording. So if you ever have to share your Meet because someone misses it, those closed captions can help, and it'll support all those users who watch the video at a later time.
Right.
And of course, many languages are supported.
For real.
So
that's one of the things too that work with teachers that need to provide learning resources for students that speak languages other than English. That with Meet, that it will, if you're on a Meet, the person that's on the other end of it can change their captioning language, so it's going to in real time take your voice, translate it for the person on the other end.
Helps those learners absolutely. So, and the last one, I think we had, but please. a lot of those third-party extensions that we've all used for different various reasons as we got through the pandemic with a variety of backgrounds, green screen backgrounds in Meet, they may be doing a disservice to your Chrome. And if you ever have problems, it could be because you may have those extensions installed. No longer needed. You can get rid of all those visualizer ones that you had because custom backgrounds in Meet is now upgraded as well. So you can add those custom backgrounds for educators and students to use if Google Admin has turned it on, and that will help with clear identification and consistency across your school when you're in a Meet. So making sure things are appropriate at all times. So
yeah, I think we should move forward just a little bit more. I don't want, but I love all these new updates. They always seem to come around this time of the year. But Chromebook updates. So I don't know if we talked a lot about it, but Google on Chromebooks had rolled out last year Screencast for Chromebooks. Think about Screencastify, but built into Chromebooks. Lets you and your students record your screen, webcam, voice, annotate on screen. So just like that Screencastify extension. But now they've upgraded some of those, so they're releasing a web player for Screencast, so that anyone can watch it recording on any device. Which I think now that they're having these things, it's something that we can look into a little bit more, and it's also expanding the recording and transcription support in Screencast for a lot of new languages, including Spanish, Japanese, Swedish, Italian.
Think about that with Translate. So you need to record something, and have it where they can hear the transcription in Japanese, let's say, right?
Right.
It's going to be very easy in that regard. And I believe, depending upon which Chrome OS it is, it's coming out with M112, which is soon. Soon. I think we're on 111. I think version 111.
And I just want to remind people that this is only on a Chromebook, so it's not on a Chrome browser. So
that's the difference right now.
When you need to utilize that Screencast feature, you have to be on a Chromebook.
Right. And so that's what, if it eventually becomes a Chrome browser feature, that's going to be a game changer.
That will be.
Looking at it, especially with the languages. So I think we kind of mentioned reading mode, right?
Right.
In the past.
So it's one of those that Eric Hurt shared before in his Google tools to support all learners, which is still I go to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And
this one is going to be built directly into the Chrome browser. So not necessary to be on a Chromebook, but you'll be able to open the panel on the right side of Chrome and choose reading mode.
Right.
And there you will see the clean version of just the text from the web page with images, videos, and other elements removed.
Very similar to
what is this extension? Is it Mercury Reader
or Postlight Reader?
Yeah.
I think it changed its name.
Yeah, they're now called Postlight.
It'll strip out all the ads and all the distractions and put that right there. So built right into the browser, always makes things. Then we can get rid of an extension and
clean it up. Won't be as messy. So last one is Cast Moderator updates. That's the tool that makes it easy and secure for students and teachers to display your screens if you're using this to a projector or some kind of smart display in the classroom. This will give the teacher greater mobility. As we say, we want to be untethered, and gives every student the opportunity to share their work and ideas with the class. It's getting several new updates, so you'll be able to pause the screen while casting, and they can keep working on their laptop without showing anything new if they're taking notes or prepare something else to share. Teachers will now be able to switch which tab is being shown without having to end the cast session. So you won't be ending, starting. And then, of course, again, the languages thing, Dan, 10 more languages. And that should be available now if you are using the cast feature for Google.
So I think some of the big updates is how Google is incorporating transcriptions and translations and all these things to support languages other than English. And I think that's a big advantage for a lot of us out there.
As more of these updates are officially rolled out, please check out Eric's website, Control-Alt-Achieve, because I'm sure he's going to be offering so much PD on his YouTube channel and everything that shares all of the information regarding it. And he'll have little tutorials as well. And I think that's who we got to get on the podcast is Eric.
I would love that.
We met Eric a bunch of times at different conferences. I think we got to see if we can get him on before the end of the year just to talk about all of these as well. But you talk about making that learning more personal and unlocking student potential. It is definitely going to help our students have more personalized learning and a more collaborative, accessible classroom. And of course, it's going to be safe as Google continues to update those safeguards. So, Dan, that was a heavy lift of a lot of information, but it was definitely needed.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts, Dan?
Nope. Just everyone be well. Hope everyone that does have a break coming up
or currently on it,
because who knows when. I'm not sure when this one's going out, but that everyone had a chance to rest, recharge, and
get ready for the final few months of the school year.
Woohoo!
That's it. All right. So once again, thank you for all your support. Till next time, Tech Car, work smart, live an adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at A Nicola Tech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.